This is Voymonk vlog number 37. In this vlog, it's 7:34 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. This vlog, I wanted to do something a little different in terms of, because we're getting ready to go towards the end of the year, flipping the calendars from 2024 to 2025, I wanted to do some predictions. And usually around this time of the year, predictions are done. And I'm not a clairvoyant. I can't see into the future. I don't have any powers or anything like that. I think you can still do predictions based on just general overall sense, things that you've seen before, things that you've seen happen, and things you think are still to come. That being said, I'm not going to be doing any predictions about things that are going to be more common in terms of predictions. I think people pretty much kind of have their minds on a lot of things, and probably the last thing people need to be concerned with, at least here, is worrying about things that really I can't change. Nothing on here is going to specifically change, and that's not what we're about. I think as far as my predictions, I can predict some things I think are going to happen in terms of pop culture, movies, TV shows, things of that nature. And so personally, I think one of the things that'll probably be big in this next coming year is going to be, I think the platforming services like Netflix and Disney Plus and Hulu, I think we're probably going to be in for some big changes. I think mostly because of cost-cutting measures. Mostly, I think people are kind of getting a little bit drained at the fact that it seems to be a bit more expensive to kind of get the content that you want, the content that you really, care about, and not have to subscribe to upteen many different services because maybe you want to watch The Breakfast Club. Well, you can only watch if you've bought it, which I think there'll be changes coming with that sooner rather than later too. But you have to subscribe to Max, or I think it's called Max now. Or you have to purchase it. But if you want to see 16 Candles and do yourself a John Hughes binge, you're probably going to have to subscribe to Paramount Plus. And I'm kind of noticing that's happening a lot more now, especially if you're one of those people that likes to sometimes go back and watch older shows or older movies and things that you grew up with, like Back to the Future, which you can only get if you have the Peacock network. And I think for the most part, it's working out well enough that I don't think any of these companies are in trouble in terms of things like that and their libraries. I just think that in terms of the overall production and what they produce going forward, and the fact that since the pandemic, so many things have changed in terms of the viewing, how people get content, and that sort of thing. I'm predicting in 2025, we're going to see some massive coming together with the streaming platform services, because I've read quite a bit that some of them are now looking to not necessarily merge, but somehow put content together. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to necessarily save anybody any money, or at least in the grand scheme of things, but I think in order to be competitive, I think some of the platform services that really, maybe other than maybe a library, don't really have much to offer in the way of content exclusively, that they're doing well enough against, I'm going to say, probably the bigger ones, which are like Netflix and Disney Hulu. I think those two will probably last pretty well. I think Paramount Plus, I don't know. I'm thinking unless they actually merge with something else, which seems like that might be coming, I can't imagine, for the most part, a lot of platforms or streaming services are going to survive. And I think the ones that do, even the bigger ones, are going to probably try to figure it out to offer services, I want to say a little bit kind of like with cable, except for the fact you'll be able to do streaming services in a way that don't require like the cable box and the way that it used to be before. So that's going to be probably one of my bigger predictions. I think the other prediction is going to be, I think, movies and Hollywood TV. I think for the most part, with social media and people basically doing most of what they do online, I think the heyday of channels and TV and programming and content the way it used to is going to probably tumble even a little bit further. I think probably the biggest sign of that is the fact that now, in order to get like football, for example, one of the options is to go and subscribe with Prime, which is I think another one. It's going to definitely change quite a bit how we get content in the next year, and I think most of it'll have to do with kind of what you're doing right now, which is I think it's going to have to change up to where it's going to need to move to where people are at, which is I think with TikTok right around the corner, probably maybe taking its last swan song, unless someone buys it, which I'm guessing could happen. But I think that would be another a part of the huge change that's going to come in terms of the way people get content, what they watch, how they spend their entertainment dollar and time and energy and that sort of thing. So that's what I would say is probably the follow-up prediction is along with streaming services. And I'm not probably saying anything too profound. I'm saying that I think the local terrestrial TV is going to change in a lot of ways. I think it'll get more local rather than national. And I think that in terms of movies and television shows, I think that is going to start. I think you're going to probably see less and less in terms of sitcoms and things of that nature that aren't exclusively on like one of the platforms that either does some kind of merger or they eventually work something out to where, they can benefit the most off making more and maybe spending less in terms of producing and creating content exclusively. In terms of just if you want to see Star Wars or something like that. I mean, I'm thinking you're going to have to go with Disney Plus in order to get that. But I think in order to see some things, some movies, some films, and that kind of thing, it's going to require that some of the platforms probably merge together. And that's my prediction. I'll probably do a few others kind of going forward and stuff that I think are going to be interesting. But in terms of predictions for this vlog, that's what I'm seeing. What do you maybe have a prediction of if you're listening to this? I'm kind of curious going from 24 to 25. And hopefully you'll share that in the comments. And until next time, take care.